Hello, welcome to Inside the Americas. In today's show, Barack Obama was elected on the promise he'd get the US out of Iraq, but the rise of the Islamic State Organization is forcing the US president to rethink that decision. As Barack Obama heads into the final years of his presidency, his former adversary and Secretary of State seems to be gearing up for her run. And while it's still not official, a recent stop in Iowa seems to have signed the deal. And no race in sight for Rob Ford. It's not the partying and the drugs that are keeping the Toronto mayor from running again, but his poor health. This week, expanded US airstrikes hit Baghdad for the first time in the fight against the Islamic State Organization. American jets struck 3 targets in an area just south of the capital, dubbed the Triangle of Death. It's part of the US's new strategy in Iraq to help revamp an army it had not finished training when it first left Iraq 3 years ago.
The leader, who last month admitted he didn't yet have a strategy against the Islamic State Organisation, last week, a man with a plan.
We will conduct a systematic campaign of airstrikes against these terrorists. Working with the Iraqi government, we will expand our efforts beyond protecting our own people and humanitarian missions, so that we're hitting ISIL targets as Iraqi forces go on offense. Moreover, I've made it clear that we will hunt down terrorists who threaten our country wherever they are. That means I will not hesitate to take action against ISIL in Syria as well as Iraq.
Increased US airstrikes have already started in Iraq. Now they'll also be expanding to IS targets in Syria. A further 475 US military advisors will be sent to Iraq, pushing the total number up to around 1,700. And last week, the US shifted $25 million worth of military aid to Iraqi forces fighting IS, in the form of ammunition, weapons and training. For the moment, though, the US president has ruled out sending ground troops to the region. American forces will be there not as fighters, but as advisors to the Iraqi army and Kurdish fighters on the ground.
Our military advisors will help the Iraqis conduct campaign planning, arrange for enabler and logistics support, and coordinate our coalition activities.
These coalition activities are what the US has been focused on this week. Secretary of State John Kerry travelled to 5 Arab capitals and to Paris to assure support from his international partners. Around 40 countries have now publicly offered assistance in the fight against IS. Noticeably absent from the coalition was Iran, which the US refuses to engage with, but also Syria, which is fighting jihadists on its own turf. Back home, the US is taking the threat of extremism seriously. A pilot campaign launched on Monday by Attorney General Eric Holder aims to identify Americans planning to join jihad in Iraq and Syria.
The fight against the extremist militants is not the only battle on the president's hands. The US has stepped up the fight against Ebola. Washington is offering up to $1 billion in aid to try and stop the growing outbreak. Some 2,500 people have already died from the virus so far. The US response includes a pledge to send 3,000 troops to West Africa, the area worst hit by Ebola. President Barack Obama has called the growing outbreak a threat to security around the world. Now, the race for the next US president is still 2 years away, but speculation on just who will or won't be running is rife. Most of the focus is on former First Lady and Secretary of State Hillary Clinton. She and her husband attended a fundraiser in Iowa. She was coy about her intentions, dropping some hints, but refusing to be drawn out. She said her focus now was on helping Democrats in the upcoming midterm elections. Catherine Viet has more.
Hello, Iowa! I'm back!
It took 2,446 days for Hillary Clinton to return to the state, which caused her so much pain in 2008. That's when she suffered a devastating defeat in the nation's first big test for presidential candidates, the Iowa caucuses. She came in third, surprising her supporters and severely denting her front-runner status. She would go on to lose her party's nomination for president to Barack Obama. This time, she and her husband were on hand for retiring Senator Tom Harkin's last steak fry, a fundraiser to help Democrats in the upcoming midterm elections. But Hillary couldn't resist teasing the crowds just a little.
Well, it is true. I am thinking about it. But for today, that is not why I'm here. I'm here for the steak.
Speculation is rife that Clinton will make another run at the White House. And in many respects, the annual Harkin steak fry looked more like a Hillary Clinton for president rally. Enthusiastic supporters sported stickers and posed for selfies alongside a cardboard cutout of Clinton. Volunteers were on hand to pass out promotional materials and badges amongst the 7,000-strong crowd. With the next presidential election still 2 years away, it's a long road to the White House. Clinton knows she needs to work on her warmth and accessibility while avoiding overexposure.
Embattled Toronto Mayor Rob Ford has withdrawn from October's election after being diagnosed with an abdominal tumor. Despite admitting he smoked crack cocaine while in office, the mayor defied calls to step down. Mairead Dundas has more.
When he's down there, I'll rip his throat out, I'll poke his eyes out, when he's dead, I'll make sure that
It was a series of video clips like this that catapulted Toronto Mayor Rob Ford onto the international stage.
Mayor Ford, what are you going to do on the floor of council today?
In what quickly became a familiar cycle, Ford would apologise for his behaviour, which included public drunkenness and drug use.
Yes, I have smoked crack cocaine. But no, do I? Am I an addict? No.
When have you?
Have I tried it? Probably in one of my drunken stupors, probably approximately about a year ago.
How many
yes,
times?
I've made mistakes. All I can do now is apologize and move on.
He'd vow it was all in the past, only to see another damaging video surface. Despite his public struggles with sobriety, Ford defied calls for him to step down, even choosing to chase a bid for re-election. But it seems that health problems have achieved what wave after wave of potentially career-ending scandal failed to do, forcing the seemingly unstoppable mayor out of the race. Ford has been hospitalised with an abdominal tumour. Doctors say he's resting comfortably. The mayor asked his brother Doug to run in his place.
Unfortunately, Rob's health is not allowing him to run for mayor. He told me that he needed me to take the torch while he focuses on getting better.
Recent polls showed Rob Ford in second place in a tight three-way race, boosted by support from the Ford Nation, his band of followers in the city's inner suburbs. And while Ford may be down, he's definitely not out. He's still on the ballot for a council seat in Ward 2. If he wins, it could signal the start of yet another political comeback.
One love, talk about love.
Elections in Bolivia are coming up next month. The country used to be one of the most secure on the continent, but today 8 out of 10 Bolivians say they don't feel safe. In Santa Cruz, the country's economic capital, the crime rate is on the rise as the city has also become a hub for drug traffickers. In the past few years, neighborhood watch groups have started to appear to help the overwhelmed police forces.
It's a Tuesday night at a police station in Santa Cruz, and these men are getting ready for security training. But they aren't police officers or soldiers. They're members of a neighborhood watch group created 4 years ago to fight the city's rampant crime.
Por nuestro barrio, en toda nuestra zona, se ha convertido en una zona roja.
Our neighborhood has become a red zone, a very dangerous zone. At the beginning, we asked for police patrols, but we realized that there weren't enough men. So we decided, as residents, to help the police.
Puesto de nuestra parte también como vecinos de poder apoyar a los policías.
Bolivia is the world's third producer of cocaine and a transit zone for Peruvian drugs on their way to Brazil or Europe. The region around Santa Cruz is home to the country's biggest drug labs. More than 18 tons of cocaine was seized in 2013.
Drug traffickers go to public places and squares to sell drugs to our youth, our children. As we all know, drug trafficking is a crime which obviously generates violence.
In Santa Cruz, the number of reported crimes has tripled since 2005, with 24,000 complaints filed last year. That's why police say the neighborhood watch groups are more than welcome.
Since these militias exist, there's less danger and fewer hold-ups, robbery, rapes and other crimes.
There are now more than 800 unarmed neighborhood watch groups members in Santa Cruz. They patrol the streets with the police every day and answer emergency calls. On this Tuesday night, a gang fight erupted in a neighboring district. The man arrived too late, but a few minors were still arrested and taken to the police station.
It's like this every night. When you catch criminals, you feel an adrenaline rush. And that can only be experienced by people in the middle of the action, like us. It's exciting.
Neighborhood watch groups are now also appearing in other Bolivian towns as police forces struggle to fight the country's growing crime rate.
Well, that wraps up this edition of Inside the Americas. See you again next week for all the news from north to south.